What's up, y'all? It's Shuffle, and today we're gonna rip on some games journalism. I was looking around for some articles. I had people posting articles and stuff like that, but somehow we ended up back at The Gamer, which is the website that I've gone after every single time. Sorry, it's no hard feelings. It's just the most outlandish stuff comes from this website. So anyway, before we start the video, if you enjoy, give it a thumbs up. Leave your thoughts down below in the comments. Check out the description box for the cool links like Discord, Twitter, Twitch, Patreon, and the Epic Games Store code if you like Darkest Dungeon 2. All that stuff. So the tips, just without any context, are actually kind of solid. But when you dig into the meat of it, it's very clear that this person played the game for like 10 minutes. They probably played this once. I'm very convinced they played this once. They might have watched some Twitch streams and like that was it. But, alright. If there's one word to describe Darkest Dungeon 2, it's this: brutal. Since the release of the original in 2015, Red Hook Studios has earned its reputation for creating difficult and gothic-themed experiences. One could even argue that the original Darkest Dungeon is a harder game than Dark Souls. I really don't... This is a meme. Like, comparing things to Dark Souls, this is a meme that I was hoping just went away, but apparently it didn't. I've scanned some of these other articles, but these are DD1 articles, but it would be fun to go back and look at those too. But anyway, with the early access version of Darkest Dungeon 2, the Vancouver-based developers have introduced another well-crafted yet punishing title. And if you're brave enough to take on this sequel, you'll need some advice from those that already failed to reach the mountain. So this person never made it to the mountain. Otherwise, this game's mix of equal parts roguelike RPG, the Oregon Trail, and Lovecraftian horror will devour one party after another. Loathing is a slippery slope. This is number 10. So loathing is... it's that thing in the top left, and it builds up. Basically, it's forcing you to take fights, because if you try and skip fights, it's just going to keep building and then punish you very quickly. So it's trying to tell you to take road fights. That's its whole purpose. The definition of loathing is an intense disgust or hatred, and in Darkest Dungeon 2, it operates on a scale from 0 to 100. It's 0 to 5, but unless you keep a close eye on this number in the top left corner of the screen, you may have a new appreciation for why Yoda said hate leads to suffering. The loathing meter will increase after your party goes to the inn at the end of a biome. This is true. To lower this meter significantly, you can make an effort to finish the 3 rounds of the Guardian challenges. I believe this works. Otherwise, each encounter with enemies will slide in favor of the baddies and increase the odds of your demise. So this tip is actually okay, because you should pay attention to loathing. You should try and keep it at 0. But they think the only way to lower loathing is the Guardian challenge, and it's not. You can lower the loathing in resistance encounters and cultist encounters, which are regular road battles, so you should be going to those. But it does increase when you get to the end. Pay close attention to relationships. Another new system in DD2 that can ruin your road trip is the relationship mechanic. Like anyone stuck in cramped conditions on a long journey, the characters may become resentful, hateful, and other types of nasty towards one another. Consider this crucial reason why you want to avoid toxic relationships running amok. The deterioration of your party's cooperation can make characters act in selfish and unintended ways. For example, while trying to heal someone, they may get in the way and take the HP for themselves. I don't know if they can jump in and take the HP, but they can definitely stop you from doing it. But this can happen when you have amorous and inseparable, which are positives. So maybe this person doesn't know that it works for that too. Maybe they never got a positive relationship. I don't know. Why am I seeing... who's this Amaranth? What's her name? I don't know. These ads, dude. Anyway. Sorry, why am I reading these like trending articles? Okay. Run over items with the Stagecoach. This is a good tip, but again, they fumble the context. It may not seem intuitive to swerve towards obstacles in the road, but you want to do exactly that in DD2. No matter what difficulty mode you're trying to beat... think of something. An item here... I can just hear the YouTube comments I'm about to get, so that's why. An item there, here and there, can add up quickly throughout your run. Darkest Dungeon 2 can be punishing at times, so take advantage whatever you can, or of whatever you can. Otherwise, you may find that some of those far and few between items are rarer than you'd like. Sorry, I thought about like the comments I get, and then I thought about the response to some of them and all that. Yeah, it's just meh. Anyway, you should run over items with this, or run over things with the Stagecoach, but they don't tell you actually why. They kind of hint at it, like right here, and they say, no matter what difficulty mode you're trying to beat, which there are no difficulty modes yet. Is this like future-proofing this article? An item here and there. So they kind of like allude that you can get items running over stuff, but they don't tell you that's actually how it works. And they say run over items. They don't say run over like roadblocks and stuff. So it's the right idea, but they don't really tell you what you get for it. So right here, they're using the starter party, which is why I think this person played like one time and then started reading online for tips. But that's usually how this website operates, or most game journalists, I feel like they do that. Focus on stress instead of HP. This is a good tip. It's very hard to die from HP damage outside of a few enemies, but stress will kill your run eventually. So that's why we try and deal with that. Stress was literally a killer in the original DD and remains a vicious mechanic in the sequel. As a result, you want to pay less attention to a character's HP than the strain on their psyche. You have even less reason to worry about HP because your party heals your party heals HP as you travel in the Stagecoach. True. Moreover, having a character that suffers a mental breakdown can snowball into negative impacts on relationships. Good. That's it. The only other thing I would say is that there are some healing combat items, but otherwise, good tip. Kill backline enemies first. In general, most of the backline enemies have the most potential to create chaos. These baddies tend to dish out AoE damage, hit you with debuffs, and stress the party to its breaking point. You have a... Okay, see, this like, when I read this part, this is exactly when I was like, okay, this article is going into a video. If you have a bounty hunter character, which also makes the top 5 on our rankings for Darkest Dungeon, which I think I read this. I think I've actually read this article and I made a video on it. But you can use them to pull those nasty buggers to the front. Alternatively, a Plague Doctor can reliably stun the backline and give you time to reach them or pull other characters back. So, there's a few things wrong here. This game doesn't have Bounty Hunter yet. Plague Doctor can't reliably stun. She can blind, but she can't stun without like combo tokens. It's only on like disorienting. And there are no rogue characters that can pull. So Grave Robber and I guess Jester technically, if you count him as a rogue, but Highwayman and Grave Robber cannot pull. So who is this referring to? They don't mention Occultist, which tells me, or Runaway, which tells me that they don't have those characters, which means they played like the one run and they're done. And then the other is that the backline enemies aren't as dangerous this time. Like they were high priority in DD1, but they're not as high priority in DD2. There are a few that are. But like if Lord's in the backline, I'm killing everything else before Lord if I can help it. If what's another one? Like depending on what my team comp is, if I'm in like the Sprawl, I'm gonna kill the some of those front fanatic dudes because they can do a lot of damage, you know, and stress before anything else happens. Like I'm not gonna kill other stuff in the back. So the Tangle does have enemies you want to kill that are in the back. It has the Bishop and it has the Drummer. So good luck with those, but yeah. Not as cut and dry as the first game. Upgrade the Stagecoach first. I don't understand what this even means. Like you upgrade the Stagecoach at the end. You can only do it at set points. Your party's humble home on wheels should be the first priority for upgrades. No, mastery is your first priority for upgrades. It is not the wagon. Beyond literally carrying the torch that represents hope, it's also how you recruit new heroes to join the journey. No, this is DD1! This is a DD1 tip. The wagon is what brings people in DD1. This whole, oh my god, it makes so much sense. This whole first paragraph, this is a DD1 tip. Because in DD1, you should upgrade the Stagecoach first to get more heroes for the hamlet. But you get more heroes just getting to the inn. The Stagecoach has no control of this at all. Not in this one. And the upgrades you get for the Stagecoach are pretty minimal, like in terms of their impact overall. So for most of them, not all of them, but mastery is your first target. Not that there's no, I don't think any tip talks about mastery. Okay, we got this right here, but that's for Shrines of Reflection. That's for getting skills. That's not for mastery points. So this person doesn't tell you that you need mastery, which is the most consistent way to win and is the quickest source of power. and consistency in DD2. There are 4 upgrade slots in your Stagecoach that can offer vital benefits, increasing the amount of inventory you can carry or the stacking limit of crucial aspects of the surviving epic challenge. So they don't talk about scouting things that you can get. They don't talk about wind chimes, passive healing. There are a lot of good things to put on the wagon. And again, the ones they're describing, I'm pretty sure these are early upgrades. Like you can get the inventory boxes from like level 1. And then I think the stacking poultice thing is something you can get later, like relatively soon. Let's see, what does it say? Stacking, wait, or the stacking limits. Okay, it doesn't tell you what stacking limits. It just says stacking limits of things, which most of the stack limit things are kind of poopy, if I can be honest. The only good one's the poultice one, because stacking stun resist poultice is pretty good. Make shrines a reflection of priority. Just by these words, yes. Let's see if it's actually good on the tips. Reaching a shrine of reflection is how you can engage in the deeper backstories Red Hook Studios created for the characters. Even more important, it's how they pick up new skills that will give new options for surviving this epic gothic road trip. So we see a lot of things that, you know, again, I always like to rip on journalists for trying to like pad up their word counts, which is part of the reason I think I'd be a complete jerk if I was a teacher. So you just call it Red Hook, but saying Red Hook Studios, epic gothic road trip. Like, it could just say surviving this journey, right? The economy of words, but no, we say epic gothic road trip. It pushes the word limit, the word requirement up a little bit further. Adding flexibility to your combat options is essential if you want to brag about being Darkest Dungeon 2. In some cases, you may even have to solve combat puzzles that are possible to fail. So this is solid tip. Getting reflection shrines, like if you're struggling with the game and you're just starting out, you should be getting these for characters that you like or that you think are good. So getting new skills is good, but again, doesn't talk about mastery. It just doesn't. There's no tip, I believe, that talks about mastery in this article, and mastery is probably the most important thing to get. Watchtowers are worth the effort. After scouting the road ahead, you may find yourself tempted to take a route that won't take you to a watchtower. However, you'll want to make an effort to tackle these encounters as early as possible. I guess they're encounters, but you don't fight anything. So I don't know if encounter is the word I'd use. Plotting your route is essential, and watchtowers can be invaluable to accomplishing this life-saving task. You can reveal the remainder of the concealed nodes, which will make your arduous trek much easier to plan. So that part is true. Watchtowers are pretty nice, because it can, you know, scout enough of the map that you can plan some really good routes, but there's context. You shouldn't always go for watchtowers. If a watchtower is like in the middle of the map or further, I usually skip it. If I can plan a better route out of what I can see without a watchtower, then I'm not going to get the watchtower. You don't always have to get into the watchtower. Like, what if you want to go to the lair and the lair's like on the right side and the watchtower's on the left side and you can't get both? And then you go to the watchtower and it just scouts you like 3 cultist encounters that you're not ready to deal with. And you have to run through those instead of getting like, I don't know, the lair, which, why would you not be ready for the cultist but you're ready for the lair? I don't know, right? But just something where it's like, this is the better path, but you're like, well, I can scout the rest of the map if I go the other way, and then you just have a bunch of tough stuff that you have to deal with. Not always worth getting the watchtower. Especially if it's later. Like, the later in the map the watchtower appears, the more worthless it becomes. And there's also scouting trinkets to put on the wagon, so you don't need the watchtower. The watchtower has actually been such an underwhelming node that Red Hook in the Deacon patch, they lowered scouting chance just generally to make you try and get more scouting items or watchtowers. So watchtower's not that good. Death is inevitable. Yeah. As tradition with roguelike games, your heroes are going to die, even if you plan the best party builds. They can. You know, stuff can still go wrong, but in the current state of the game, it's, with a lot of options and understanding, it's actually pretty hard to die unless you start taking like big risks, or you get to the final boss. The final boss will kill you in some instances. So while you may feel compelled to keep fighting, there's nothing wrong with running towards the proverbial light. At the end of each run in Darkest Dungeon 2, you earn points to raise your profile rank, and the more often you die, the more items you'll have to try and survive this treacherous trip through a gothic world. Do you get hope for dying? I think what they mean is just like the fact that you die, it cashes out all your hope and you get stuff, so it's okay to die. And that does matter, but if you think your run is about to end, the things you should be doing if you need hope is you should be trying to get hero shrines and then die after you get the hero shrines. And you should like just throw away every item that you own because it gives you bonus hope, which is a very silly way to do it, but those are things you should be doing. But it is okay to die. You will die in this game. Even like I'm not trying to say like even me, but you know, I feel like people respect me in some regard. So I still die. Like a week or two ago I was playing the game, I got my butt kicked like three runs straight, so it happens. But anyway, let's see. Great adversity has a beauty, is the fire that tempers the blade. Good quote. Items are vital for success in battle. Veteran fans of roguelike games will need to fight this instinct to treat items as precious commodities. In DD2, using them does not take up a turn, that's a good tip. Combat items do not take up your turn. If that hasn't raised your interest yet, it should, because your party may not survive unless you take advantage of this desperately needed exploit. Don't call it an exploit. I hate that word. Exploit should be like very specific things, like opening your skill menu with the C key, like the letter C, so for character, like opening your skill panel before the lair boss and swapping skills could be considered an exploit. Using combat items is not an exploit, so I don't like that. But additionally, you only have so much space to carry inventory during your run towards the mountain. The game isn't stingy with combat consumables, so take full advantage of the opportunity to get the edge on your enemies. Doesn't tell you what combat items are good. Doesn't tell you creative ways to use them, like shedding your tokens, getting rid of enemy defensive tokens. Doesn't tell you any of that. Doesn't tell you, like I said, which ones are good. Doesn't tell you a lot of other things. Like there's a starter tips video that I'm going to make after the next patch. I just, in case like something fundamentally changed, I didn't want to do it quite yet, but like it doesn't tell you how to save your currencies. Like 70 baubles are good to keep on you, and then the rest should be relics. Doesn't tell you to go for mastery points all the time. Doesn't tell you to take fights. It doesn't tell you to take it easy in the first biome and then really push it for 2 and 3 once you have a couple upgrades and trinkets. Like it doesn't, there's some good tips in here, but it doesn't tell you the best tips. And some of them like this, just this is what the hell. Upgrading the Stagecoach first because like whatever reason, having a bounty hunter pull enemies when there's no bounty hunter, I don't know. I don't know, but you know what? It's always fun to at least go after games journalists. I'm sorry. I mean this as no hostile, aggressive, or ill intent, but I'm doing it. Anyway, that's it for this one. The Gamer, if you'd like to hire me, I have a business email. I'll write you better articles than this. At least for this game. I'm sure if I had to cover multiple games quickly, I could not. I'd probably resort to stuff like this too, honestly. But I don't know. I feel like I'm such a perfectionist that I would actually try and play the game a lot and talk to people and try and figure out what to do instead of just like, I don't know. But that's it for this one. And try and keep it under 20 minutes this time. And otherwise, the usual videos coming up. I really want Red Hook to put out those patch notes quickly, like sometime in the next week. I'd like to do videos on those so I know what we're getting into. And then once DD2 has the torchless mechanic, which is what they're adding, it's called the Infernal Torch, where it caps your torch at 1. Whenever I play DD2, I will probably be using that because why not? So that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. See you next time.